These two goobers give away the secret in the most, like, intense way I have ever seen in a season. Maho, welcome back to You and Idol Precure, where we will now be covering Cure Wink's debut. Just a little heads up, I know last episode I think I talked about going over the ending song. I think I'm actually not going to do that this episode. I'll do it in next episode because I don't think we're having a lot of new animation. This episode I'm going to review Cure Wink's transformation, just to knock that out of the way. Nonetheless, one thing that immediately starts off this episode is that time has passed. I feel like usually at this point in the series we just kind of like go day by day by day. But it looks like some time has passed since the previous episode because now we've been practicing doing this choir thing, Nana's been getting into her position as the pianist, and we already start to see a little bit of a relationship between Uta and Nana already being present in the series. That obviously would require a little bit more of the two of them getting to know and interacting with one another. Oh my god, and then my personal enemy of this episode is the CGI for the piano. Like, I'm so picky about this, and I know that this is something they can cut corners on because it's a kid's show, but I cannot with the way this looks. It looks so ugly. Pianos, and then specifically having the hands play a piano, is a very difficult thing to animate, so I'm not expecting them to go full-on 2D for this, but the 3D looks so archaic. Like, the way they handle the shadows, the way the frame rate is just not aligned with the rest of the episode, it's just all over the place. I feel like the last time I saw something looking like this was Nodame Cantabella, and that was like over 15 years ago. Like, take a page from Love Live, because they've come such a long way with their 2.5D that it looks so hideous every time it comes on screen. And it actually gets better when she does her musical number. It looks way better. I'm like, I don't know if they just have a different team doing the 3D here, and then they have a different team for, like, the ending themes and stuff, but they gotta coordinate their 3D departments because this is not looking great. The shadows, the frame rate, the movement, all of it's pretty bad. Nonetheless, we see that the two of them seem to be closer than they were, obviously, the last episode when they were just getting introduced. And we already just kind of have, like, a warm, amicable relationship right out the gate. And specifically, we see that Uta is able to perceive people's emotions, which is nice. I feel like a lot of our leads don't typically have that ability. They're usually pretty ignorant of the, like, emotions around them, but she can already tell that Nana's stressed about something, to which Nana is like, there's a piano competition, which, oh my god, as someone who played piano in her youth, is easily, like, my villain origin story for things. Like, as somebody who both swam and played piano, the things that made me hate those two activities in my youth was competition. I absolutely hated that they're like, oh, you do these activities? Guess what? They all come with competition, and I was like, I don't want to. I just want to swim because it's fun, and I just want to play piano because it's fun. Oh my god, I do not blame her for being like, this killed my love for piano. I also think it's really sweet that we have this, like, shooting star moment where Furirun and Uta both make a wish that she does well on the recital, which is super adorable. We also get a glimpse at Nana's mother, who we knew was away abroad in France to play piano, but she seems very supportive, and it seems like we're not going a route that we've gone in other seasons where, like, the distance of the parents has been some kind of conflict for them. This doesn't seem to be something that bothers Nana, at least at this point in the show. She seems to be pretty comfortable with how she's able to still have a supportive mother, but her mom's not present physically. The scene has a lot of, like, reflection going on in it, and I feel like this was to build up specifically for this moment where she looks in the mirror and she winks at herself as kind of a way to try to motivate herself to do well at the piano recital, which obviously comes into play a little bit later, but I think this is a great way they narratively made her being Cure Wink make sense. But unfortunately, the stress gets to her and she messes up, which this is, like, my pet peeve, because by this age you do know this in piano. Like, the one thing that they teach you right out the gate before you do piano competitions is they'll sit there and tell you, if you mess up, just keep going. Like, at the end of the day, the judges may know, because the judges have heard the songs 1,000 times over, but your parents and all the rest of the audience, specifically when it comes to, like, piano, and I think this probably applies to most instruments, but with a piano where there's so many notes, if you get one singular note wrong, but you got, like, again, you got 5 fingers on each hand, you play the other notes. At the end of the day, the audience will not really know you messed up, or if you did, like, get one little note off, they're not gonna notice. You just gotta keep going. So, like, to make a mistake and then freeze up is, like, the one thing you have to not do. You have to play through that. But obviously, for the sake of this conflict, they, like, have her freeze up and whatnot. But yeah, if anybody's ever curious what they teach you in piano, it's don't stop. Don't stop believing. And then we move on to the next day where we establish the typical Pink stuff, which is that our little Uta is late to class all the time. However, I like this shot specifically because you do see that Nana is stressed out and she's visibly showing it. I feel like a lot of the time we have, especially for blue characters, they just kind of sit there and grin and bear, and they're not super visibly, perceivably upset. But we do see Nana actually for reals upset. And then of course we have Uta notice. And we see her have this kind of like post-recital PTSD, which, girl, I feel you. If I remember that I made a mistake, it's gonna be my thought process for the next 10 days. Which leads her to have lunch by herself, but Uta, and with a little bit of a push from Pudadun, ultimately goes and sits with her and kind of like talks through it and is supportive. And she does what no person would ever do, which is give her her little octopus sausage. Like, that takes a lot of effort. That stuff tastes good, I would not share. But she ends up trying to cheer her up and it's super adorable. I do think it's so funny that, like, at a certain point in this scene, Pudadun gets found out. But, like, she straight up, like, gives Nana her food, and then Pudadun's like, yeah, me, and she's like, yeah, sure, let me just feed you. No one cares! That's not where we get caught. It's hilarious. And then we also have Uta do her little, like, sing thing, where it's, like, mildly more cringy than it was before when she did this, but at the same time, as we learn even from this episode, that this is just like an Uta thing to do, and it's kind of part of her little quirky self, so it is like a little bit cringy, but also cute, so it gets a pass. Pudadun gives themselves away by sneezing, as well as like just giving away everything. These two goobers give away the secret in the most like intense way I have ever seen in a season. They're like, we're aliens. We're not aliens. We're Precure. Yes. Here we are, boom. And they're like, this big secret, we didn't keep it. It's really, oh, it's very bombastic. But Nana, like, takes it very much in stride, and she's like, yeah, that's chill, I'll keep your secret. So, I mean, all's well that ends well, I suppose. And we have this beautiful sequence where the animation did go, if not with the hands, where their hair is in the wind, and Nana professes that, I really wish I had the courage you did when you were fighting as Cure Idol. And the whole sequence is super sweet and super pretty. And then of course we go to Uta's house, and we have cream soda for the first time. Which is, to me, like the silliest thing in the universe, because she just takes a spoonful of vanilla and she's like, this is delicious. And I was like, vanilla ice cream is delicious, you might want to try the drink. I thought it was a little silly. And then we're back with the rough CGI hands, but the piano like looks a little bit better from the shadows, so look a little less terrible. But we do get the backstory that Uta and Nana actually know each other. Both of them had done a piano performance before, and Uta was supposed to have learned the piano, and in the best way possible, which I really think solidifies her character, and why I think like her cringy singing is going to be just an endearing character trait. Comes down to her right here, where she genuinely plays the piano for like 3 seconds, and she's like, yeah, and that's not it, I'm gonna proceed to sing. And then having her parents like reaction to it, like her parents are so chill, by the way. I usually feel like parents have a little bit more of a louder, bombastic personality, but the parents are like, and then there's our daughter, they're like, she took all the energy, we can't compete against that. But it does allow us to look at this photo, which has a perfect way to showcase that these two knew each other, and really adds this backstory. Like, honestly, the wink I thought was going to be maybe something that her mother had told her about when they first released the summaries for this episode, but I love it so much better that the two of them met when they were younger, and it's not completely unbelievable. With Uta having a very music-oriented family, it makes sense that they would try to get her to do piano at a young age, and obviously Nana's stuck with piano, so it makes sense that the two of them would have crossed paths in their childhood. I don't think they'll do this again for Kyun, or I feel like they'll be a little overdone if they also have like this mysterious we all met in the past kind of bit again. But here I think it's very cute and it fits the narrative. And then ultimately Uta encourages her and gets her to, and shows her how to wink. And we see her like not do the wink very well, which is so cute. I love that they animated it that way, that she just didn't instantly do it and it kind of looks a little bit silly. But I love how Nana's like completely enamored by this and she's like, oh my goodness, Uta is an angel, like this is a blessing. I love this little spell thing. It's super cute. And the fact that she's been doing it this entire time is so precious. And she does it here and it's adorable. Like I love this connection between them and it feels so natural. And I love this bit where we see Hamori really like playing the piano. and just have this very childhood innocence moment of like, I can play Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. All of this to sort of revive Nana's own thoughts about, there was a point in my life where I just liked playing piano, and the pressure is really what's made me enjoy it a lot less recently. I hate just like feeling like I'm not going to meet everybody's expectations, but there was a time where I just played and I liked it, which, big mood, Quirrell, big mood. We also get a bit of our antagonist where we once again see that Chokuri has been watching Uta and enjoys like the Cure Idol bits, so I'm interested to see what that culminates into. It's very funny, but he's turning into being like the biggest fan. And then we get something that makes me interested on how they're going to handle our big bad, because instead of being like, oh, you guys suck, I'm going to like, you feel my wrath as the main villain. Instead, we get the introspection here that Darkine has said, oh, if you guys do well, you'll get a bonus. I feel like a lot of our villains don't offer some kind of nice incentive to try to motivate our antagonists most of the time. It's been something along the lines of, do this or I'll kill you. So I like that we're going for a different angle with our villain, and I do wonder what this is going to cause her to look like in the future. And now we get Stooge number 2 as our next villain, which makes sense that now we've switched to a different Cure for the focal point of this episode. It makes sense that we see a different villain, because usually the villains kind of line up with each of the characters. We have a pretty solid fight scene. Like, there's a couple of really nice sequences we see of Cure Idol coming out the bat, which I was surprised because I thought we would see more of these good moments with Wink as she would debut. But there's a pretty decent, like, punch-in for Miss Idol here. And ultimately she gets caged up, because as we always have with these debuts, either everybody gets knocked out or somebody gets caged up and we have to, like, you know, tag in the next girl. So the baton pass here is as usual. I also feel like this is a trend, because I feel like there's been multiple seasons where we've had a blue Cure been like, oh no, the lead is caged up, I must now grab on the bars and yell. Like, this has happened a couple of times. So we're keeping that trend alive. I will say I didn't love this part. Like, we are going into the lead up for her transformation, and the animation is kind of wonky and the soul behind it felt a little lacking. I was kind of surprised at how, like, whatever this part is. Like, this is not where I'd be sticking the in-betweeners. I would not be having a shot look like this. Like, her turnaround to face him and then be like, I'm gonna be brave just like Idol. It was a little lackluster. I don't really know what was going on here. But she does ultimately, like, we finally get the face close-up, so at least those are pretty solid. And I like the emotion they put on her, because a lot of the time these blue Cures don't get a lot of emotion. A lot of the times they're just very soft and nice, and we don't really get to see a full range of expression. But seeing her, like, actually angry and actually frustrated is nice. And it's very well drawn. Like, they put a lot of effort into just, like, these type of frames. And then Idol gives her a wink, to which she matches. Like, I think this is one of the first times we see her with, like, a really solid looking wink. And we're off to the transformation. Now this is just like my happy place. I genuinely love this transformation, and I'm not just saying that because I adore the color blue. We also see that the motifs shift into hers, which is more of this like diamond pattern. Like, even the squares in this one are rotated at 90 degrees so that they go from being a square to a diamond. I absolutely adore the hair. I also love, like, they're definitely going in that sort of icy pattern as well if we take a look at how they're handling her dress, going with a little bit more of a fractal instead of the other patterning that they've been doing. We have, like, this lovely, very Frozen-esque imagery going on here, but oh, I love this moment because this is, like, the last frame before her hair bursts into its final form. I just love how, like, kind of bubbly it looks. It's super cute. And overall, I feel like this one doesn't have as much motion and spinning as Idol, but I do love, like, it seems to be very elegant. It seems everything feels very smooth and flowy. I also absolutely adore every sequence they have for where she gets the, kind of the coattails, essentially. Like, each one of these frames are, like, they literally said, we ain't gonna have any bad frames. I just absolutely adore how beautiful her sequence is. Let me see a bit of her smile. I will say, unfortunately, because she's one of the softer characters, there isn't, like, a huge amount of personality in here. I do think for the previous season, even with somebody who was a little softer like Mayu, she had a lot of sass and personality in hers, and I feel like a lot of where this one shines is in the motion, and not so much any kind of facial expressions or large body language. I do love our impact frames. They're very nice. I also like didn't really notice all of the earrings matching the headband. I like that. I kind of like this spot of yellow as a highlight, like just having a softer yellow instead of an intense one. It kind of works. Like I feel like they always throw in one sort of complementary color into these outfits that kind of can be a make or break depending on what shade they end up going with, but I really like it here. And then honestly, I want some appreciation for this before they put on the heart brooch, because I'll be honest, I think the outfits look so good, but then they have to, like, smack on the toy of the season, and it can be very, like, it can look a little much, but it looks really pretty before we put it on. But I also like that this little kind of not quite a tie bit that she has hanging on off to the side, which is supposed to dangle under the brooch. Like, I like how they have this placement where they did think about what it looks like without the brooch, and it does set itself up to have something right there. I appreciate the detail. Unfortunately, the, like, hands and everything, they don't use the same sort of lineup that they did for Idol, which I find kind of sad. I feel like the feet and the hands aren't as intense as Idol's. They're a little lackluster, but everything else was so nice that it gets a pass. And then, of course, her wink is very nice. That's the most sass we get in this transformation. And she ends with doing the heart a different way, like doing it under instead of over, which I think is super adorable. And then again, we get this burst of background where I really like the dark background. Like, I believe this is near similar framing we had before, but I love, like, look at the piano keys in the top left. We keep the bow, but we also have her diamond shape. Overall, it's so pleasing. And then we get to see her in action, where normally we get a lot of blue cures who will end up being some kind of shielder or some kind of, like, protector of the group, for whether that character is the soft character or the blue character. They tend to fall into that role. But girl comes out swinging. Her kicks kick hard. She leaves no mercy whatsoever, which is super appreciated. And of course, we're all cheering on. I also put this in here just because I'm mad at Puridoon. You have to buy the light sticks separately for each color of each member. Like, it doesn't switch between the colors like most light sticks do. They really said, you gotta buy 5 if you want to get all the characters, which is mega rude. The Puridoon just gets 1. Puridoon just hits that button and it goes from pink to blue, which is cheating. And then, not only is Wink so aggressive in the way that she is, but she's able to just knock this thing over. Which, what are these? Is it supposed to be like a culmination of sharps? Is that the whole bit here? But yeah, she just, like, she punches it and it's like, it's gone. Bye. Like, dang. She's really said, I'm the physically strongest member of the group. And oh my god, her, like, interim attack is also super nice. Like, every one of these frames. Like, this is where a little bit more of the personality comes. She seems far more sassy here. Like, where was this personality in the transformation? Whatever, they saved it for this. Like, look at that wink. Oh my god, every one of these frames is absolutely gorgeous. Lining up for her attack. Like, look how cheery. She goes from being sassy to, I'm about to kill you, but I'm gonna do it with a smile. And then we move into her show sequence, which I'm glad that they kept it fresh here. Like, Idols was impressive, but they said we bringing in a whole glass piano, which is where I think the CGI works. I think if you're trying to do normal things, the CGI can look kind of rough, but doing something unique like a glass piano and having that be in 3D, as well as her, she's technically 3D here as well. It looks better. It looks good. The CGI team knows what they're doing. I wish only for this sequence that it didn't cover her mouth. I do think that they went a little too crazy with the graphics here, because I tried to find a good shot where you could see her face not completely covered in sparkles to have the headphone on. Like, if they just move this like a hair and so it doesn't cover her face the way it does, this would be a little bit cuter. But that was a mild nitpick. Otherwise, she does so fantastic. Like, again, where I'm looking for personality is moments like this. Having expressions like this while singing, because she has this very elegant and fun and lighthearted thing. It definitely contrasts versus Idol's, like, really upbeat, high energy. Here, it's just like, I'm gonna sing and you're gonna die. Like, just all of this sequence was very well done. Following up with her having another just very elegant attack. Like, the body language here is really nice. I love the posing. It's just that they do so much better at communicating about the character moving out of the transformation, which it's very odd, but it goes to show you different people board different things. Like, look, this is the elegance I'm looking for. This is like the sass and personality I want to see from a character, especially one that's going to be a softer individual. And then I also found it interesting that when Puridoon got the little bow, this time they did a wink instead of like the butt wiggle that they did with Cure Idol, which I think is very interesting. I wonder if it's going to be unique every time or if it's going to depend on which character secures the item. But there's not many of these bows to attain, so maybe they're all unique. I don't know. I also like that Pudidun can't do a wink. They have to close both their eyes. I think that's pretty adorable. We fortunately rescue Hamadi, who was the one who ended up becoming our big bad for the sequence. And then we have Wink finally be like, oh wait, I turned into a cure. And I was like, yeah, you turned into a cure. Welcome to being part of the group. Let's go. And we get another wink of encouragement where it's so precious. And as we move into this recital, which I was kind of confused because I thought this was like a group recital, but it's just Uta and Nana. What happened to the rest of the class? And we get some hand holding. Let's go. Like, look at them already. Like, it's gonna be interesting to see where Kyun fits in the dynamic because so many seasons do have it that, like, the first two girls are closer to one another and then the third one's kind of like the goofy, silly comic relief member of the group. I wonder if that's gonna go this way. And with however they decide to handle the mid-seasons, if, like, there's more closeness between the mid-seasons and Kyun. But we'll see. Anyways, this was a pretty solid episode. I'm super happy with the way things went. I think it's a very solid introduction for Wink, and I think it really weaves her into the narrative pretty well. Next episode, we are not moving into Kyun yet. We are meeting our mysterious Kaito, who looks like he's gonna be a guy, or at least Uta perceives him as a guy, if they're gonna go down the route of, like, Cure Sunshine / Cure Chocolat. But more likely than not, probably a dude, and we'll see how that goes. But until then, I will see you next time. Bye bye!